So it's day 2 of working on the Honda generator. I had a plan for today. That plan's been foiled for a couple of reasons. My plan today was to pull the float bowl at the carburetor, just look, make sure there's no grime in it, stuff like that. I was going to pull the fuel line and turn on the fuel tank valve and just let a little bit of the gas drain into a cup so I could observe it and make sure there was no water sitting on the bottom or anything like that. That was foiled for a couple of reasons. I'll spare the painful video. The first reason, the primary reason, I actually planned to do this stuff during lunchtime today, and then now, currently, I'm heading to Mom's house. My plan was to have all that stuff I just talked about done by now, and then I was going to Mom's house right now to start the thing. I ended up not getting any of that stuff done at lunchtime. First of all, and I knew this already, but I was hoping I'd have the hardware to handle it, but I don't. The bolts that hold the rear cover on the machine, the bolts are metric. All my tools are imperial, so I don't have a metric socket. I don't even have a proper socket wrench. All I have is one of those twisty things, which isn't going to work. I managed to get the top 2 bolts off using a pair of locking pliers, but the bottom 2 bolts are on so tight that I couldn't get it with the locking pliers. So I need a proper socket wrench and a metric socket, which I don't have. My mom might have a socket that fits. I know she has a socket wrench. So I didn't get any of that done. I haven't pulled the float bowl. I haven't pulled the fuel line. Here's what I have done though. I just came from the gas station. I put $1 of gas, 91 octane gas in the tank. I got a bit of a weird look from the cashier when I handed her a loonie for gas. I put 91 in not only to help offset the old gas that's already in the tank, but also some gas stations, I don't know about mine, hopefully mine, this applies to mine as well, but some gas stations, a lot of gas stations, their premium grade fuel will be ethanol free. And that's important for this case because we're talking about a piece of equipment from the 80s, probably the 80s, that was not designed to handle ethanol fuel that contains ethanol. If you don't know, since 2001, most gasoline has ethanol in it, 10 or 15% ethanol content, and it wreaks havoc on some older equipment because ethanol eats rubber components, so gaskets, seals, hoses, stuff like that. And I think ethanol can also be corrosive to some metal components. Older engines weren't designed to burn ethanol fuel either, so you've got reduced performance, harder starting, stuff like that. So people recommend, when in doubt, just put premium in it. And if you're lucky, it'll be ethanol free. If you're not so lucky, at the very least, it's good fuel, higher octane. That'll help slightly offset the fact that it has ethanol content. So that's what I've done. I put gas in this thing, and I'm thinking of scrapping my plans, my my nice plan I had laid out, checking out the carburetor, float bowl, draining the gas tank a little bit, stuff like that. I think I just might set the thing out in Mom's yard and just pull the cord on it and see if it fires up. I'm thinking of going YOLO on the whole thing and just ask questions later. I can't, no, that's a lie. I can't imagine what would go wrong if it turns out that there's enough grunge in the tank that it clogs the carburetor jet, and then that's going to be a big cluster. But we looked in the tank is clean, it's not rusted at the bottom. There was little tiny flakes of debris in there, but the inline fuel filter should take care of that. So that's what I'm thinking now, is just YOLOing the thing, yank on the cord a few times and see what it does. If it does nothing, then we'll go from there. If it does something, then that's going to be pretty darn cool. But I'm just coming up on Mom's house here. I got the gen in the trunk. And we'll just see what friggin' happens. It is raining out, unfortunately. But it's just a light rain, so I'm not gonna let that ruin my plans. My new plans, the original plans were ruined. That's the way she goes sometimes. So with my non-plan in place, it was time to see what would happen when I pulled the cord on this generator which hadn't run in 5 or 6 years. And for anyone wondering why I'm wearing a skirt, it's because I had no sweatpants to wear and I didn't want to get my work pants dirty carrying the generator around, so I just put on what I happen to have. But here we go. Let's see how well YOLOing works with getting a generator running for the first time in years. Holy crap! Holy crap! It fired on the first pull! Oh my goodness! That's down to idle. Pilot light's not on. No friggin' way. That is awesome. So with that exciting beginning, it was time to see if the thing would make electricity. So I gathered a random lamp out of the basement. I put a 150 watt incandescent light bulb in it, and well, let's see what we get. Now, as I mentioned in the previous video, Bridget's dad said that it wasn't making electricity anymore. That's why he put it away to begin with. So I'm not expecting too terribly much, but let's just see for fun what happens when we plug an electrical load into it. No power. No smoke. No smoke, but no electricity either. Wow, it's quieter than I expected. Wow, it idles really nice. So it makes no electricity, as seen, as told. But the engine runs awesome. Holy crap, that is awesome. See if it'll start again on idle. I am so happy. So that concludes the second part of our saga with the Honda EM600 gasoline generator. I am so happy with how today turned out. I had a feeling that I had this plan, look at the carburetor, look at the gas that was already in the tank, and after I couldn't even get the bolts removed from the rear cover so I could access the other side of the carburetor, I figured, well, there goes today. I'm not going to get anything done until I get a metric socket or whatever. But today ended up so much better than I thought. I was a little worried about just YOLOing the whole thing. It maybe wasn't the smartest thing to do. Something I forgot to mention though, another reason I decided just to YOLO it was because when Bridget's dad dug it out of his garage, he actually turned the fuel valve on and gave it a couple of pulls just for the heck of it. So there was already that stale fuel in the carburetor. So, what more harm could I have done by, doing what he had already started by turning the fuel valve on after 5-6 years. But it turned out worlds better than I thought it would. I'm kind of glad now that I didn't go through the trouble of digging into the carburetor and stuff, where I could have damaged old hoses, I could have damaged a gasket, and I'd have to get new gaskets. So by just YOLOing the thing, I saved myself a lot of trouble. And it turns out the thing just runs heckin' fine. Now, something I need to do is observe it running and make sure it's not leaking any fuel or oil or anything like that. It's got that grime in the bottom, which makes me worried that it might be leaking oil, perhaps, but I don't know. It was full of oil. It was up to the full mark when I checked the oil in the first video. So maybe it's just like an idle drip from the crankcase vent, or maybe even it was just a little bit that dripped from the air filter, since the air filter is oil soaked, or maybe it's just general normal engine oozing. I don't know. But I'm really friggin' excited. So next on the agenda, which will probably be hopefully a couple of days from now, 2 or 3 days from now, I want to run it again. I want to be able to take a closer look at it. I'll have to bring a flashlight with me. It gets dark early here still, which is why it was dark in the video near the end there. But observe it while it's running, make sure I can't see any drips and stuff, and then I want to bring a multimeter with me, and I want to probe the generator while it's running. Unfortunately, the service manual for this generator, the best price I could find was $45, and that was from Honda's own website. But I found for free the service manual for the EM600, which is slightly different, but I think there's a lot of similarities. And in part of the service manual for the EM600, it goes through the process of testing the generator. So if the engine runs but there's no power, which is the issue I'm having, it goes through the workflow of probing, like disconnect the generator from everything else, probe the voltage coming straight off the generator, I hope to God I have voltage there. If it doesn't, it could mean that the generator's just bad, like it's got an open circuit coil or a shorted coil. I really, really hope that's not the case. But anyway, start from there. See if there's raw voltage coming right off the generator. I really hope there is. If there is, then we go ahead, we check the circuit breakers, the outlet itself, stuff like that. So fingers crossed that there's nothing too terribly wrong with the generator. The fact that it was not working when Bridget's dad got it, but then it worked again, but then it stopped working again, makes me hope that it's something simple. Maybe just a loose or dirty connection. I don't know, but we'll find out in the next part probably. So for now, I am really, really happy with how today went, and I'm looking forward to working on this generator more. I'm really happy to see that it runs perfectly. And also, I've got to say this again, in case there are any newcomers watching this video who aren't subscribers of my channel, please be nice with your comments. This is my first time ever working on a small engine, or any engine outside of the most basic car maintenance. So this is my first time getting my feet wet with this. So while I have a little bit of knowledge because I watch a lot of people on YouTube who do this stuff, I lack the practical experience, the hands-on experience. But I'm really excited to learn that. So just keep that in mind, is that I'm very green around the gills with this. So with that, thank you, and I'll see you in the next part.